Hello and welcome to the Extended Greg YouTube channel. I'm Greg, and today we're going to be building a package for Alpine Linux. We're going to be following the wiki for this, so we're going to see if it works, but we're going to be using a Raspberry Pi, and we're actually going to be building it on Alpine Linux itself. So let's get right into it. Alright, so what we have here is pretty much the actual wiki itself, and pretty much it covers everything A to Z. I haven't tried this before. We're going to be trying it for the first time here, but figured I'd take you along for the ride. I actually want to see how it goes to see if it's something that is completely viable. But there's a few methods. I did take a look through the instructions so far, and it does have a couple of mechanisms to do it. One of them is building it locally, and one of them is actually committing it to the package repository, so it's just generally available through APK. We're going to be following part of that. It does involve Git and does involve registering through GitLab, things like that. So we'll probably go through it generally, but I don't know that we're going to actually commit anything of value today. So we're just not going to commit anything at all. So, unless we had something realistic that we wanted to upload and support, we wouldn't necessarily want to go that route. So going from here, so pretty much it says to create an account on their GitLab, which is like GitHub, but it's kind of a standalone, you can install your own instance on your own servers, and it functions exactly the same, but it doesn't use the GitHub client, it uses actual Git. So, and Git is open standard, just for reference. So this is what's currently here. So quite a bit of stuff, but specifically they're talking about the A ports, which is here. Right, so we would fork that repository. It does talk about setting up a build environment for A ports, so we will actually probably just go through that really quick. We'll clone the fork, set a build base, or rebase, true, username and email, which is what we register with them, which is fine. And we create and switch to a new branch. And I think it says, obviously don't use branch master because you'll never be able to commit it, because obviously it needs to be separate packages. And then adding a new directory under testing, and obviously it would go in under testing first. You wouldn't want to actually commit it and have it be a full distribution until you do it, but it has mechanisms to be able to handle that. We would have to create an APK build file, and that would instruct it on how to create this. And then we would run an abuild checksum. We would make sure that APK build lint and aport-r, that there are no warnings. And then we would commit our APK build with the commit message, testing package name new A ports. Then we would push our changes back up to Git, and we would create a merge request in order for it to become part of the repository chain. So that's a general overview. So let's actually go through it. So going down into the details, we have to set up our system and account. So first thing that we're going to do is install APK, or Alpine SDK. So let's go ahead and do that. So going over to our Pi 5, we will need to just do some basic setup. Right, so this is just a vanilla 64-bit installation that we have currently going for this. So let's go ahead and just get it registered. And I made a few changes to my network environment to hopefully make this more streamlined than it is normally. So we're just going to log in as root, and then we'll do setup Alpine. US, in this particular case for keyboard layout. We're going to call this package maker. Let's do dash maker. Alright, we're going to set up ETH0 for DHCP. No wireless today. No manual changes. So, as it's discovering the network address here, we'll set up our password. I'm going to set a very, very secure password. And we're going to set the time zone US/Eastern, because that's where I am. Caps matter in this case. No proxy, using Crony for time server. And then once that actually syncs, and it should actually sync, there we go. We're just going to use the default mirror, but we are going to enable the community repository because we can. It'll update it. Are we going to set up a user? We're not going to set it up now, but we will. All right, and we're going to do yes for logging in through SSH. I'm sorry, open SSH, and then we're going to do yes. And that's the reason we don't set up a user now, is that it allows us to be able to go through and do that without having to go into the sshconf.d or sshd.conf. Doesn't matter. So we're not going to use a key. We're going to generate that for the system ID. We're not going to install it to disk, but we're going to use mmcblk for configs and for cache. And now we're done. So we're going to do APK update. Right, we see it successfully connected to everything. We're going to, just for fun, do date, and we notice it is actually the current date. So I put some network forwarding to resolve the issue that I've been having with pool.ntp.org, where it didn't resolve. So now it actually does just force it over to, it redirects all that traffic over to my local NTP servers. So hopefully no more of that, but one step at a time. And let's install the package, which is Alpine SDK. So we're going to do APK add Alpine SDK. Spelling it right. Right, so that's going to install a nice swath of packages there. And once it's done, let's do lbu commit-d, and that saves it all out. So let's go back over to our instructions. And what we have going from here, if I use the right mouse, is now it actually wants us to log in using our Git, right? So if we go over here, we would actually be able to register it. And I should be able to register with GitHub. Excellent. So now that we're here, we've created our user account. We can go into command line and we can do git config -- global. So we're setting the global config up. User.name, your full name. User.email, your full email. Pretty much to make it so it registers it and associates it with our account. So let's go ahead and do that. And let me actually make sure I have this up. Otherwise, no. Just so that way I have a reference available. So we're going to do git config -- global user.name. Right, extended Greg. Then git config -- global user.email. And I do believe I have it set to my general email. Spelling it right as well. Oh, I didn't close quotes. Okay. So now that that's done, we can go on from there. So next we're going to clone A ports. right? So we're going to do git clone, and right now we're just in the our general directory, right? So just before I do that, so because we're logged in as root, we're going to actually have we're going to clone it to the root directory. If we didn't want that and we wanted to put in another directory, in this case we do, we are going to move it to a different location. So let's actually make a directory / develop. Now, what do I want to call it? Package. Oops. So we're going to do package. That'll work. So and the reason being is we have a folder called dev, which has our devices in it. So if we put it for development environment, it wouldn't necessarily work. So in package, let's actually do the git clone. And it's going to be the aports repository. So it's going to be https://gitlab.alpinelinux.org /alpine /aports. And what this will do is it will create an aports directory inside of the packages folder. It will download all of the changes that have ever been made from the first iteration all the way through the present. It will apply those successfully, where pretty much all the changes get stacked one on top of each other. And that's how you actually get up with your final code. So the code that we'll actually be able to see is the final version of code, but the way it got there is not necessarily the most efficient. But in terms of actually keeping a track record of what all the changes are, so if you ever had to roll back or reference some for other version as it was, other state as it was in the past, you're able to do that really easily. But we also see it's gigantic. And this is not downloading slowly. I don't think it's throttling on my connection. I think it's throttling on theirs just for to make it so nobody's absorbing all of their available bandwidth. But it is certainly something where it's a beast as it is. %. Let's see. And this is where it's doing the overlay. So it's actually going through, it's tracking each individual change and is overlaying it on top of each other. That's what they call delta, because delta is for differences in this particular case. So the difference between each iteration, and that's how it's eventually going to get to the final version. So while this runs, let's go back over and review our procedure. So we're doing the clone operation now. Then we're going to want to add our group, add our user to our group. Right now we're logged in as root. We don't necessarily want to be developing as root. We can, there's nothing to stop you, but just something to keep in mind. And maybe we'll try that today, see how that goes. But we need to add our user to a build. Then we also need to prepare a location where the build process caches the files when they are downloaded. And let's see. Yeah, and it gives us 2 variations on the way to do that, as well as assigning correct permissions to it. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but let's go back over, see if it's finished, and then continue on from there. All right, so it just finished. So now we can, if we ls this directory, we do see aports as present. So now let's continue with the instructions. So they wanted us to add ourselves to the aports group. So we're going to do add group. We're going to do root. And we're going to do a build. Perfect. So now let's make a directory for /var /cache /dist files. And let's give it the appropriate permissions. And specifically, I'm going to just go back over here, just show you what that second command is in a bit more detail. So it says, as an alternative, you can add yourself to the abuild group. We already did that, so technically we can use this. So it would be the change group abuild for the actual ownership of the file, and then we would give group permissions plus write. So let's actually try that out, just because we've already gone through, and if we had additional users in the future, we could add them to the abuild group in order to be able to facilitate their access. So instead of chmod, we're going to do chgroup abuild /var cache dist files. All right, and then we'll do chmod g+w, same path. Excellent. So next what we need to do is actually build our, or generate our key. So we need to have security keys for building with abuild. So we're going to do abuild-keygen-a-i. And I don't know if this is going to show anything, so again, I'm probably going to have to clear this all out and redo it for my own personal use here, but realistically, you know, you get just for the idea, just so we go through it. So abuild-keygen-a-i. So we're generating it. It's going to put it in a abuild folder, which is a hidden folder, and then give us an RSA key at our email. We're going to save it as the default right now. We are going to copy it in a second, but we're going to save it as the default. It says DOS not found. Let's see if we can add it really quick. So that did work. Let's try regenerating. And again, we did install Alpine SDK, so technically it should have been included as part of that, but that's okay. It's easy enough to add. All right, it says operation not permitted. And I'm not entirely sure why. Let's just see if it actually outputted it. It helps if we actually look in the right folder. It looks like it generated it just the same, so I'm not entirely sure what that error is about, but I think we can continue to push forward. For the sake of keeping things simple, I'm probably going to delete one of these two sets, just so that way it's a little bit easier to be able to keep track of everything. So now let's make the arbitrary decision, the A7 or the D3 that we're going to remove. So let's do the second one. So let's do do the first. We'll keep the second one. And we're just gonna delete a character, so that way we delete both in one shot. We will ls it again, and we see only our 2 other files are remaining. Perfect. All right, so let's go back over to the computer, and next we have the cp command. So we're going to put it in /etc/apk/keys. So this way, anything that we build is technically signed to be able to install. Right, and if you want to share the generated keys between multiple computers, you'll have to manually copy the generated public key into this for the signing process of the generated package to work. So we'd have to do that each time. So definitely something important is keep a hold of your keys, back them up, as well as make sure that you're actually keeping them out of sight. You don't want anybody to get your keys, or they can impersonate you when trying to build packages. So just something to keep in mind. So let's go back over to our Pi. So we're going to do cp /root /.a build. And we're going to do .pub specifically. And we're going to put it in /etc/apk/keys. Excellent. So we finished that. We have a few options in terms of what we could do for getting some help, things like that. We could do abuild-h, which will give us pretty much the abuild help file. And then it pretty much starts getting into creating the APK build file itself. But let me just show you what that command runs and shows, because this is how you are going to build it. So abuild-h, and -h is pretty common. We see, I'll do dash or less just so that way we could scroll through it. But we kind of get the idea here. We have our options, number of flags, things like that, and then commands. So the commands are really the big thing. So build, checksum clean, etc. And that's about it. You know, it's not very extensive as far as the list goes, especially when you compare it to some of the massive programs that are available for Alpine Linux. So, and it's going to give us in the instructions exactly what we need to run. So, perfect. So going back over here, creating an APK file. So to create the APK file, new APK build can serve you a template to start with. So it will create a directory with the given package name, place an example template APK build file in the given directory, and fill some variables in those if those are provided. Please check package policies about naming. So don't name it anything inappropriate or they will not publish it. If you doubt to which repository your package belongs, you can safely use testing. Build package in your aport testing directory is not mandatory, but this way the package is already at the right place. The build package provides scripts necessary for creating packages for Alpine Linux, etc. blah blah blah. So, we've already installed Alpine SDK. So in order to use it, the user executing abuild must be a member of the abuild group. That's done. The environment must be set up for abuild. So we may need to check into that really quick. Just gonna move this over. So we've already done our keygen operations. We could create them manually. This is very interesting. So the OpenSSL command to actually generate those keys and create the public key file based on that. And that's it. And then I don't really see much else. So I'm totally fine with that. So basic usage. So we want to do a build checksum updates the checksums for source files. A build-r builds the package. Very good. So well, let's keep going. So it talks about building a chroot. So we can build a package or install a package called a build root bld. And what a chroot is it pretty much changes your root directory so as if you're actually building it on a new machine without actually installing it to your particular machine. It makes it easier to build it in a more sterile environment, as well as makes it more, I would say, safer for your system so you don't accidentally bork it by overwriting something critical. So it lets you control package versions, things like that, a lot easier. So let's actually install it. So I'm already there. So let's do APK add a build -root bld. Okay, it installed 4 files. And the other command that it said to run was a build root bld with a space in the middle. And it says do not run it as root. So we need to create that other user and add them to the appropriate user category. So it does restrict you from doing it. So let's do add user, and let's just call it, what do we want to call it? User. We'll give it a very secure password. Okay, and we're going to add it to 2 groups. So we're going to do add group wheel user. Before we do that, so wheel is actually added through the sudo command. So let's add apk add sudo, because otherwise we won't be able to get privilege escalation to be able to actually do anything. So let's do add group wheel user. We still don't have a group wheel, so let's add group wheel. It says it's in use. Helps if I put it in the right order. There we go. And then let's do also a build. Perfect. So now we can actually log in as that user. So let's do su user. Right, and now we're logged in as an unprivileged user. So we could do who am I, and it says user. And pwd, we're in package. It says that obviously before the command prompt, but semantics. So we can actually go through and see what we want to do with, well, let's try rerunning that same exact command that we did a second ago. So a build root bld. And it says APK build, no package. We don't have... We may need to add something really quick. Just going to double check. We definitely... Well, no, we do have our keys. We've set globally forget everything that we want to have. And we have group permissions on the directory that we're currently in. Okay. So pretty much, we don't have our APK build file already existing. So let's look at a build-h. Because I'm going to go back over to the computer here just to show you what I'm looking at. Because we created the chroot, but we need the APK build file. So that doesn't really help us out here. Actually, let's see if we can install that package. Because it shows up as a package, but it doesn't actually show up in the package directory. So let's do APK add. Actually, let's do search. APK new APK build. It says it's part of the abuild package, which is already installed. Yeah, and that's the sudo. But regardless, we can just run it. So let's start it here. Right, so we have 8 ports here. Let's actually run new APK build. Let's do -h for help, see what our options are. So we can set the package name to use, set the description, set the license, set package URL, create AutoTools package, which would use /configure. We can create CMake package, Perl, Python, Rust, quite a few options. So pretty much if we have to have something that's compiled, it will facilitate that for us. We can also use a SourceForge source URL to be able to download it and be able to compile it from there. Or we can copy a sample init.d, conf.d, and install script. Or force even if directory already exists. So let's start with the baseline. We're just going to set a few basic options, which is our package name and our description, and leave everything else blank. So let's do -n, and let's call it hello world. And then we'll do -d. Say hello to your Linux streams! ! And let's just run it. Missing required argument, package name, package version, sr curl. Okay. So it doesn't look like it needs -n because it's specified at the end. Permission denied. So user bin, permission denied. Let's try the same thing, but we're going to do sudo now. We're not in the sudoers file. Let's exit our current login. Let's do group add, or add group, excuse me. User sudo. Sudoers. Let's see. I'm going to go over here, just look it up instead of hunting for it, because obviously I don't remember it. So Da, 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 da. Right, add user sudo dash. We know it doesn't because we got the error. So we can grant it one of two ways. So wheel, all, sudoers, wheel. So that is an option. Method 2, vi sudo. And we can just put it in and pretty much copy it. So we know what it is. Let's actually do that instead. Option B is we can also do wheel. We can also do sudo. So let's actually just vi into there. So vi sudo is our critical function here. So back over to our Pi. So vi sudo. Host alias, etc. So right here, we're already part of group wheel. So we're going to uncomment it. It's still going to prompt us for password because we want it to be a little bit secure, but at least it will allow us to run the commands that we need to run. So we'll escape out of that, save it out, and now let's log in again as user. Now we can run our command once more. And it says do not run it as root, but we didn't have permission to run it before, so something's up. I'm going to add a -f to this just to see what it does. And it says it can't create it because permission is denied. So let's do ls-la on this, and let's see who owns it. So currently it's owned by root. So let's actually remove it. Let's try and recreate it, because we should be able to create it as our regular user without having to worry about anything. And also, I don't believe that the group permissions, which we set to wheel earlier, or a build earlier, is accurate. There's another folder that we could build this in as well. Maybe that's our problem. So it's var cache dist files. So let's actually change that directory and build it there. Right, and we do ls-la. We see it is part of group A build. So theoretically, we should be able to run it here and see what's going on. I'm going to get rid of the -f just because I added it. And now there's no errors because we have permissions to write in the directory that we're actually in. So we'll do ls-la again. We see that that is under user. We can cd into that. And we see a build and source. So let's take a look at a build, APK build really quick. So right here we see package name, package version, package release. We see our description, our architecture. It could be all, and in this particular case, it's just going to be a shell script, so it can be. But that will restrict your architecture, so you can build it just for ARM, for Raspberry Pi, for example, or for x86 or 64-based systems, just so that way you're not running it, trying to run the same package build on things that are not necessarily going to be compatible with it. So, for example, if you were going to do something that was going to compile, you definitely needed to specify more discreetly what your architecture is. So, just something to keep in mind. License usually... in the case of Linux, especially, it'll be like a general public license or GPL license, and normally it's 3.0 v3 at this point, which allows pretty much general use. So anybody can use it. Dependencies allows you to specify other packages that need to be installed as part of the installation of this package in order for it to run successfully. So that's when you see that, when you type in one name and you see all of those packages installing, that's actually what's causing it to do that. And I have the telestrator here, so that right there. And then the next command down, which is make depends and check depends, those are part of the build process. So those won't be installed in order to run, but they will be installed as part of making the package. So an example of that would be dev versions of the scripts that you're going to include as your depends. So you would need the dev version for the build, but not when you're running it. So that and sub packages, so you can include so things that are part of this package or related to it, but are not necessarily installed by default. One of them being the -dev, which would usually include your source, and another one being doc, which would include your documentation relating to its operation, or your extended documentation past the general help file when you actually call the executable. And then your build directory. Source code also, by the way, is just where your source code is located. But your build directory, so just where is it building it? And then you have your build commands, your check commands, and your package commands. So those are three things that we would have to fill out in order for this to be functional. And hopefully we'll get there. But that's pretty much the extent of what the file provides at this point. You know, literally there's not any more than that. So we can quit out of there, and let's go back over to our wiki. Right, so we've done that. So now we have our APK build file. It's not set up properly because we haven't changed any of those entries. So just something to keep in mind. We haven't changed anything. We haven't made a package to actually build, but we're going to try and build it anyway using a build root BLD. Let's see what happens. And it says no private key found. So in this case, let's actually copy over our aports folder, or our abuild folder from our root directory, since we generated our keys there, and also our login credentials are still the same. So we'll use sudo for that, cp. Actually, I want to see really quick, ls-la ~/ which is our home directory, does not exist. So let's copy that over and we'll change the permissions accordingly. So we're going to do sudo cp /root /.abuild. It may not give us autocomplete. And we're going to do ~/. It says omitting the directory. So that's not helpful. So let's do it via the root login really quick. Right, so we'll cd just into our home directory, which is root. We're going to do ls-la, and we see the .abuild directory right there. So we're going to cp .abuild, and we're going to put that in /home user, and that's it. Let's do ./abuild. Let me... I know what I did. So we need to make it recursive because it's inside of a directory. If we only specify the directory itself, it's not going to do anything. Now it works. All right, and we'll do ch own user :user, and we're going to do /home /user dot abuild. And we're going to do -r on that as well. And for chown and chmod, it is a capital R. All right, so now that we've done that, let's go back into login as our user. And let's cd to our home directory. We see abuild is there. And we see our keys associated with it appropriately. So now let's go back into our other directory. I think I may still have it in history. And we have hello world. And now we can try doing our not a build. Still says no private keys found. So let's try what it's suggesting, specifically right here. So it says that it'll build it for us. So let's just try that. But it's trying to regenerate the keys. Let's exit out of there. So let's go back to our where we generated those initially. Right, which is right here. So we did -a-i. Let's just redo that, and we'll have to copy it in again as well. And really, our config may not be up to date as well. So maybe that's actually part of it. Let's try, I just want to see if we set that and then we try running it again, if it'll actually work. So let's try it. Because we did it underneath the root user, but it actually, even though it says global, it may be per user and not every user on the system, which actually seems more appropriate. Did the same thing last time. Okay. So now that we've set both of those, let's actually just try going and doing the root BLD. Still says no key found, so let's regenerate a new key. So abuild keygen -a-i. Where do we want to save it? Here? Absolutely. It says DOAST operation not permitted. I'm not sure why it says that. So, it said the same thing last time and it worked. Ish. So, let's see what we got. So, the other thing that we did as part of the keygen operation was we copied that over to our etc APK keys directory. So, Permission denied, we have to do sudo. Right. Type in our hyper secure password correctly, hopefully. And there we go. So now it's successfully copied over. Let's try running it again. Oops, wrong one. Still says no private key found. We did run... Let's see. So we do need to set a variable inside of abuild.conf, but it says it does that automatically. Let's make sure it actually generated that file, because it's possible it didn't. And then we set the private key etc abuild.conf, or specify the key with the -k option to abuild sign. So let's look locally, because obviously we have this by user. Let's make sure that it actually is present. Home user .abuild. Let's just see what's here. I don't see an abuild.conf file. Let's look also in the etc folder. Okay, so it does look like there's a file that exists there. Since it does, let's just VI into it and see what we got. It's a read-only file right now. So right now it doesn't actually look like anything is set in here, especially our key. So let's exit out of here and notice that there's nothing really special about it. It's just a regular text file. So I'm going to run it again just so we see the prompt. But it says we could just add packager underscore private key and copy in our particular key location, which is going to be exciting because it's really long. So the way that we're going to work around this is we're going to use the echo command, because then at least we can have it all on screen. And this wants our non-public version of the key. So it's the one that ends in .rsa. Let's do... I don't know that I'll be able to get it to autocomplete like this, so let's do this. And we know we have 907, and we're going to do that as well. Right, and we'll now correct the quotes. So that way we didn't have to remember everything, and then what we do is we will echo it into that file directly. We could also use the T command to be able to do the same, and then we would see what it outputs. But we're just going to echo it, and then we'll look at the file. So we're going to do /home /user /.abuild. And then we're going to do abuild.conf as prescribed. Let's see. It did it. Excellent. We made a text file. That's what we've accomplished today. So let's ls this. Let's just vi straight into it because we know it exists. So /home /user /.abuild abuild.conf. And we see it is currently listed there for all the world to see. We didn't make any changes, so I'm just going to do a Q and exit. All right, and let's try it again. Perfect. So, checking sanity of it, it's missing everything. So, but it did effectively run successfully and start checking through our files. So our environment is set up to be able to run it successfully. Step 1. We do have to fill out, obviously, all of the information within that APK build file. So we'll do that in a second. Let's go back over to our instructions. Alright, so we've gotten down to here, we've built our environment, our basic usage is there, we understand what's going on, we've installed root BLD, and we've been able to run it, although obviously it hasn't done anything as of yet. But we can bump package version, things like that, but we have to set it first. And then updating a package release, we're not up to that anyway. So this is actually looks like where it's covering all of the APK build information. And this, by the way, this wiki is really long. So I do like the amount of detail that they include in here, the amount of explanation. So I'll actually add a link to this directly in the description down below. So be sure to check that out. But the big thing is we can also build a tar file. So using the tar file, we can actually just create a portable file that we can bring onto the machine and use APK to be able to install it. So we don't actually have to necessarily commit it to anything, especially if we're doing local distributions of packages that are very custom and application specific. We could use this to be able to make that portability while still having the ability to maintain version history and things like that. So, and that will just keep it all in-house. We would still have to add our keys, obviously, to be able to authenticate the packages as we build them, but it's good to know that that option is available. So we've done this. We've created our package build environment. So SourceForge, yeah, this is loading source code. So A-Build supports HTTP, HTTPS, and FTP only. And we'll support these file type extensions. So depends and make depends are running dependencies. We covered that earlier. Licenses, it gives you a list of possible licenses that you can use. If you don't license it or add a license to it, it makes it difficult for entities, I'm going to call it, to use it. So it makes your package less useful because then technically they're in a legal gray area. So always make sure you include a license, even if it's to say that this is private code and nobody can use it. Just put a license that is to that effect. You know, there's literally a license for everywhere. So you could put it in, and by the way, if you're making it so nobody can use it, don't publish it to the general repository, and hopefully it will get rejected if you do accidentally. But you can make it so only nonprofits or non-corporations can use it, so you can retain rights for distribution for commercial use, or you can make it so just anybody can use it. But make sure you include that. So, this, sub-packages, things like that, help save space. Architectures. So, the possible ones are x86, x86, 64, all, no arch, where all is all architectures and no arch means it's architecture independent. So, example being Python. You know, potentially Shell. I mean, there's other options, but Python's a really good one. And then URL, web address for the program. So this is for documentation, so if they try and find more information about your package, not necessarily something that's going to call during runtime or otherwise. Description, we've already added our description. Package version, so release number for the package that you are building. So let's actually go into there. Let's start filling out our APK build file. Right, so here we ls into it, we see APK build, we're going to do vi APK build. So we have our package version. So let's say it's 0.0.1. That's going to be our package version. And we'll keep it as release 0. Let's switch it back over and let's keep going through the options to see what else we would need to set. We've already set our package name. So there's 6 kinds of install scripts. Each script is called packagename.action, where action is one of the following. And this is something where hopefully this will make sense, otherwise I might need to draw a picture on the telestrator really quick. But you have your pre-install script, which will install all of your, or it will run pretty much a shell script before it does anything. So if you need to prepare some stuff like creating directories, things of that nature, or checking to make sure directories exist, or preserving any kind of config files, backing up existing stuff you're going to replace, this is where you would do that, is in pre-install. Then it will actually copy in your installation materials. So things like your executables, things like that. And then you have your post-install. And that's where you would like do chmod if you needed to, or other things like that to make it ready to run. So that's your final cleanup, remove any temporary files that you needed to have during the installation, things like that. Or pre-process and kind of tune things based on the actual runtime environment that you're installing to. For pre-upgrade, it works kind of the same way, but you've already had your package installed. You would run this before doing the upgrade on that package. So that doesn't have to be the same as your pre-install, post-install. So your pre-upgrade and post-upgrade, very similar, but it assumes, it actually knows, it doesn't assume, that you already had the package there existing on an earlier version before you started that installation. And then pre-deinstall and post-deinstall. So this is before you uninstall the package and after you have uninstalled the package. So these would do your final cleanup operations, things like that, in order to make sure that your package is not making a mess and leaving artifacts that would make people not want to install or use it if it doesn't uninstall cleanly. So, just as important as the install is the uninstall, just to make sure that you're kind of leaving things the way that you are. It's the National Park Service of package functions. So, pretty much, those are the key things there. So we'll have, they don't have to be anything special. They can be nothing more than just hello and goodbye. That's it. So let's see where to put these. But it looks like that's going to be our next step here. I'm already on that machine. There we go. So, and this is separate from this. And these are the actual commands, things like that, for creating the package. So this is kind of separate than the other things. So right now we depend on nothing. Our license is nothing. And it may prompt us for it, but let's see. So let's save this out. ls, let's cd source ls into there. I don't see anything there in particular. Let me just make sure where we are putting it. And I just want to make sure. On a side note, I just realized why the music is so low to me. It's coming through the wrong speaker. So hopefully you've been hearing music this whole time, so there's no dead space. But so let's just try it. Let's just put it in a folder, because I actually don't see where it's specifically supposed to go, at least as far as the documentation. So those particular files, let's just put them in... Well, let's put them in the root. Oh. Not that root. That one. So we're putting it in the root of the project folder that we're working on. So let's just try it, but it's going to be package name .post install pre-install. I'm not sure they're required, but I do believe it will call it every time regardless of whether we define it or not, so we might as well add it. So let's actually just touch them all first, so that way they exist. So it's going to be hello world dot pre-install post-install pre-upgrade post-upgrade pre-deinstall and post-deinstall. So let's go into the first one. I'll ls this just so you can see that they all did create. There we go, a little easier to see. So we will vi, let's do our first one. Let's do pre-install. Right, we're gonna do a shebang. And we're going to use Ash because that is default on all. Pretty much it's available on all Alpine Linux installations. And we're going to do nothing. Not very exciting, but it's valid. And we, at least if we stage it, we can add additional commands to it easily later. So let's do the same thing for post install. And exit 0 just means that it's exiting without errors. If it had exit 1, for example, we could tell whatever's calling it that it exited with problems. So it might show that it actually failed. So exit 0 is always the default. And generally most programming languages actually have their equivalent of that they would be able to use for it. So pre-upgrade. Write that out. Do post upgrade. What was it? Deinstall. And post deinstall. Perfect-ish. So going back over to our instructions, let's see what else we got to do here. And this is where it says that it needs to have, if the package has a pre-install and post-install script, the APK build should have the install variable defined. So maybe we didn't need to make all of them, but we did. Let's define it inside of the APK build script. So right here where it says install, we're going to do we'll just define two of them, pre-install and post-install. We're not going to make two versions of this to test the upgrade, so. Perfect. We probably also could have shorthanded this and done package name, because it looks like there is a variable for that. Actually, there is. So let's try that. I'm just gonna see what happens. Right? Because we have package name defined up here, up top. I don't know if you can see that. Right, so package name is right there. So we can use that potentially to actually replace these. So let's try that, because then if we can use this kind of as a template for other applications if we want to copy it over and create our own set of resources that we knew and were comfortable with that had some pre-configuration done. That way it minimizes our development time overall. So a little bit of time now saves time in the future. So going back to our instructions. Okay, we've defined that. And it does say package name here, which is why we changed that instead of doing the hard specific. We can define it with whatever we want, but it's nice to keep everything associated properly. Sub-packages, we don't really care about that. We're not doing any sub-packages. We're not doing any of that. We're just doing some simple text. We could do Perl. We could do a number of things, and we're not doing patches. So human readable patches are pretty much ways to get approval and to get integrated into source code. It's used all the time in large development projects, things like that, where especially FFmpeg, when you need to submit a small change, things like that, you just submit a difference file as a patch, and that way they can review it by patching an existing tree opposed to having to download your entire commit history. So it just makes it a little bit easier, because then you're just getting the end result right off the bat. Right, we're not going to do patches. Prepare. Right, so prepare is inside of the APK build file. Default prepare, do your stuff. Things like that. That's fine. We're not doing patches. We're not doing make either. Build directory. So if you use new APK build to create your APK build file, you must specify the path to your unpacked sources. So let's see. We're not doing that. Let's see. Because we don't have any documentation, we don't have any configuration files, things like that. But package directory /etc packagename.conf. So that's our conf file. And then it says build the package. So let's start with this. Let's create a file that will make it do hello world. So back in our Pi, so let's cd into source folder inside of our package. Right now we have nothing there. So let's do vi / or not / but let's do just do hello world. All right, and what this is going to do is it will add hello with the date to our message of the day. It'll add it right to the end. It's not going to clean up after itself, but we will see every single time it runs when we log in. So let's do echo date. I want to close. Right, so hello world, and then we're going to do double caret, which pretty much is the append to the end of the file, /etc/motd, and no extension. We need to give this a running environment, so we need to do shebang /bin/ash. And we also need it to exit cleanly. So exit 0. What an amazing program. Let's test it. So we could do chmod +x hello world, and then we'll do /hello world. Can't create because permission is denied. That's fine. Let's do sudo. I believe it ran. Let's find out. Let's do cat /etc/motd for message of the day. Oh, and look at that. Hello world. So it works. What an advanced program. So now that we have something in our source directory, let's see if we can do something with it. And we're going to want to make a tar file version of this, obviously. And then we can look inside of it. So I'm going to cd ... and then we're going to do our actual build command like we did before. And let me just make sure that we're actually going to run the right command. Okay, let's actually go and review this together. So, for building everything, so if you did not create checksums as mentioned, you can do that now. So we'll do cd package name abuild checksum. We probably need to add something to our file more than that, but let's see what we got. So because we haven't referenced this file, it just shows up as source code. So let's go back in and edit our APK build file. So for build commands, we're just going to echo done. For checking, we're going to echo done, because to be honest with you, there's nothing for us to do. It's an ash file written in plain text. So for package right here, we would have to do, let's see. Well, we're going to find out what this is. Let's see. So I'm just going to put echo nothing right now. And I have a feeling we're going to have to add the thing to move the file to the correct directory, as well as give it the proper executable permissions as part of this. We could also do that as part of the pre-install, post-install, but the file needs to make it to an executable directory somehow. So just its existence inside of the source folder does not actually indicate that it's going to do anything useful. So let's keep going and let's see if we actually get to a point where we see that. So let's do our command really quick, which is we're not doing make, we're not doing all of that stuff because it's not a compiled program and it doesn't have to be. So let's do a build checksum. Okay, we did that. Right, I don't see what it did, but it did things, I'm sure. Then we'll do a build-r. So building disk files hello world. Missing URL, we don't have a URL to our actual source content. Let's just add a URL there. So we need to add it to the project. So let's do we need a license. Even though I went on about it, we didn't actually add one. So just looking up here really quick. Let's actually do it on here. So if we scroll up to where we had the licenses before, it did provide us a list that we can choose from to be able to see what we needed to set it to in order for it to build appropriately. So let's see if we can find it. Okay, so we have our license here. So we have license list. And there's a lot of license. So there's Apache, things like that, but is it free? Is it OSI approved? Things like that. So for us, we're going to use GPL v3, which would be under G for GPL. So we're going to do GPL-3.0-only. Right, so we'll put insert mode. And I believe that was it. Let's see if it works. Okay, it did things. So make depends. We have our package cleaning up source directory, package directory, temp directory, done, entering fake root, nothing. Okay, and nothing is what we wrote when it does the actual build. Okay, so it says, oh, we still have our sub packages defined, but we're not actually going to use them because we don't have sub packages. Cool. So let's go back in. Let's modify our APK build file. Let's get rid of these sub packages because we're not going to use them. And let's try and figure out exactly what we do in order to get this into the bin folder. So over here, let's go back. So here we have examples. Let's go into those. So we have a simple APK build example. So right here we see package name, we've done that, architecture all, license, GPL. We did GPL 3.0, that's fine. We don't have any dependencies because we're not really doing a thing. And here, make desk directory, package directory, install. Right, so build directory, So I'm just looking here really quick. So this one's actually downloading the package version from here, which is for plotting graphs for GNU plot. And this is quite a simple file, but there's a lot going on in the background. So let's look at another example. We have PHP, which is a nice one as well. I want to see that. Oh, interesting. It doesn't help us, but that is interesting. So this is Python. Same deal. Distribution lint wheel. So what we can do is actually, let's do ls, because we can run this as many times as we want. We're doing it locally. If we can't find the answer, let's try and see a way we can figure it out. So let's go over to our Pi once again. Let's go edit this. Instead of doing nothing, right, we'll say package start, and then we'll just do ls-la and pwd before that, just so that way we see where we are and we see what's available, because it'll give us kind of a bearing to know where our source files are. Okay, and we'll run our abuild-r again. Right, and what we see here, we see root, we see nothing. So our current is inside of source. We see there is nothing there. Which is strange, because there should be at least our one hello world file there. So let's see what we can do about that. And it's because we don't have it structured appropriately to be able to actually do it. So let's see if we can actually look at an existing one, because that should give us a better understanding of exactly what we're looking at. So for example, in this simple example, it did reference his source code here. Which is very interesting. It doesn't actually give us any information on it, but probably because they don't want anybody to accidentally build it. Let's see. Because it did give some specific details in terms of how the package was structured earlier. So let's go back over here. Let's look at that. So aport.r. So the aports repository, etc. We did pull that, but we're not using that because we're not committing this back. but we do need to at least create our environment. So we did this, we created that, we built our key, a build, package policy names about details. It will create a directory with the given package name. Place an example template in the given directory and fill in some of those provided. If you doubt to which repository your package belongs, safely use testing. In this case, we're not committing it back, so that's fine. So there is a Git repository here. Let's actually look at it. And this has a number of example files that are available. So we have the post, pre, etc. Sample APK build. Let's click into that and take a look. So down here where it says build, it does the .configure. Down here under package, it has build directory. Then destination directory, build package directory. Okay. Source directory is also an option. Okay. We're extrapolating this in real time, so bear with me. So let's see. So what I'm going to do is actually do source. Because here we have build. So we have source directory, which is our build directory. And we need to move it to package directory. So let's do source dir / hello world. We need to move that or copy it over to right, so we're going to do a cp command. Let's see if we could just get it to show up here. Because if we can get it to show up here, we can move it to the appropriate location. So I still can't stat. 1 minute, let's see. Where did we put our file? It removed it. All right, let's make a file here and we'll copy it in. Let's see. Our very important and special file. All right, speed of light here. All right, so cp hello world. Okay, and now let's try it. Home user packages, dist files. Let's see. So we may have something incorrect there. Still says no file, no. So it is definitely cleaning it up beforehand. So maybe we need to specify our source directory really quick. So let's take a look at that, see if there's something to be said. Okay, let's actually go over here. I have some text for this. So what this is it has, we need to specify it inside of our source, inside of our source variable. Okay. So the source variable is not only used to list remote source files to fetch, it is also used to list the local files that abuild will need in order to build the APK. Examples of such local files include init.d files, conf.d files, and install files. See install variable, patches, and all other necessary files. So let's go ahead and define that. So source directory, we're going to do so it's going to be source directory let's try it. I'm just curious how it does. That's our build directory as well. Hello world is missing in checksums, so we need to do a build checksums. Duplicate found in source. So it's build directory versus source directory. Let's just add so symbolic link loop, so it doesn't like it. So maybe we should put an entire... Well, I mean, technically it should know where it is. Let's try that. Symbolic link loop. So what's that? What's the deal with that? Should we just try this? Okay, that worked. So for source, it's already assuming it's in the source folder. I will take that. So let's actually just try and build it and see what it says. Alright, so right now it says make depends, da 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 da. No maintainer defined, that's fine. We're not planning on maintaining this anyway. So, just kidding. It says hello world, okay. CP can't create hello world. No such file or directory. Da 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 da. So dist files, hello world, package, hello world, / no such file or directory. So let's make that directory. Right? So if we do ls-la, we don't have that file specified. So let's do make dir-p pkg / hello world. Right, we see it there. Let's just run it again. We're in this folder, and it says it can't find it, no such file or directory. So let's see, does it still exist after we ran it? The answer is no. No, it does not exist. So somewhere in there, it's actually removing it. Let's see what we got. Right, and I'm willing to bet it does have relation to something that we're not specifying. So we do have source hello world defined. Our build directory is source directory. Echo done psla, pwdla, lsla. Our cp command is not working as expected. So let's actually go down because our source directory is already there. Let's actually just remove that, send it to the package directory, and at least that way we see where we are. We see the checksum below for hello world, so that way we can qualify that the file that we're putting in is in fact correct. And so let's get out of there. Let's try it again. So it checked the checksum okay. It looks like we're no longer getting that other issue. So CP can't create. Where does it say package start? That's what I want to know. Because that's where we have our echo command for the package builder. But it says can't create. So let's do ls-la. We don't see our pkg file there. But we are inside of our directory. So let's go back over, let's see if we can find more information to continue. At the end of the day, if it was easy, anybody could do it. So, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you gotta overcome what that particular, I would say, hill is that you have to climb, the wall that you have to get over between, you know, not understanding it and understanding it. So, kind of building that small little pile of rocks of little pieces of information to make it up on top of the wall, I think is, you know, the name of the game. And it's fun in a lot of cases, you know, but it's definitely sometimes a little bit of an opaque challenge. Oops, my video took a hit for some reason. So, pretty much, let's see what we got. Because it doesn't look like it's actually preparing the output appropriately either. And granted, I know it's definitely from something I'm doing in terms of the configuration or something else like that. So we have build it locally. Right, we can set our local repositories, things like that. Maybe because we don't have it in a testing folder. Which we can move it into. Let's go ahead and try that. Because I did mention that earlier, I wasn't necessarily on that, so let's do cd ... Actually, wait, where is it trying? Yeah, it is trying to do it here. Whoops. Hello world, let's make a directory called testing. And let's move hello world into testing. Okay, so we try that. Doesn't actually change anything else, so let's just run it anyway. I'm not sure why it can't create no such file or directory, so something actually may be wrong in our aports file. Let's double check that, our APK build file. Because here we have it, so we have hello world, and we have it inside of the package directory. So let's actually just remove this and see what it does. Because now we do have it defined in our source, so it may actually carry it over. Okay, that got a little different, so let's see. So we had hello world, okay, done, so it ran those two for the build, entering fake root, package start. Now we see var cache, dist files, testing, hello world source. We see hello world currently defined in there. Technically, it looks like a symbolic link that points to var cache dist files testing hello world on the outside of the root. Running post check for hello world. Find testing hello world package, no such file or directory, etc. And then we go down package hello world, no such file or directory again, preparing the package. CD line 2642 can't CD to package hello world, no such file or directory. So let's try making it again. Okay, so let's make that file. So make dir, and we're going to do pkg hello world. Oh, -p, sorry. Right, so now it makes it so we do ls-la. We see packages there. So let's just try it again. So now that things are a bit happier, no such file or directory, so obviously blew it out. So let's see. So prepare package failed, root package failed, uninstall dependencies, purging.make, blah, 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 blah. And if we ls again, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's gone again. So the question is, how do we actually get it to build successfully to that output directory? Because again, we're trying to do the minimum that we can here to actually make the package work. And it's talking about committing work, everything else like that, but we don't actually want to do any of that. Prepare a commit message, then it's the patch, everything else like that. We have another reference here that looks like it's not the same thing. So it talks about the normative language that it uses within this guide. So start directory is the directory where APK build script is. Source directory is directory where sources from source variable are downloaded to and are packed. Package directory. This directory should receive the files for the main package. For example, a normal AutoTools package will have make destination as package directory install in the package function. Subpackage directory. This is the directory that should receive files for the subpackage. Build directory. Directory should point to the directory inside the source directory where the main package source is unpacked. Okay, so we have user-defined variables, things like that. All of this, install if. We're not going to be using that. License, things like that. Description, group name, etc. Dev doc openrc. So here it does give us our that's interesting. So default prepare should be called in prepare. I'm curious what we have here. Let's see. Because there's some stuff here that may actually be automatically built as part of calling some of these functions. So we don't have prepare defined, but we do have the ls-la. And what I want to do is I want to do make dir-p, or just make dir package directory /bin, and then I want to cp hello world, right, to package dir /bin, and then let's just do our chmod. Again, this is not an explanation on the appropriate way to do it. It's just figuring it out and trying to get it to build successfully once. You gotta get your feet wet somewhere, right? Okay, fake root package start goes can't create directory. That's one's after, no such file or directory. So it looks like it's diving too deep. I do think we got fewer errors, though. Don't ask me why. So, oh, I got an idea. So what I did is I added the -p, so it'd make the parent, which would, as part of the build, make the pkg directory. Okay, so it's a result. Is it a good result? I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to find that out. But we see running post checks, preparing package, stripping binaries, adding pre-install, adding post-install. No Arch-specific things were found, so it's set, should probably be set, excuse me, to no Arch. So we can do that. Let's do it. Because again, we're just running an ash script. It doesn't care what it actually is. Right, but we run it. It does things. Look how few errors there are. And that's something I can take pride in right there. But we do see that there's an APK file that should be somewhere. Let's see where it is. Doesn't look like it's here. Oh, is it? I don't know. No, it doesn't look like it's here, because the source directory is now gone as well. So cd.ls, that's not helping us. So all that stuff did things. So cleaning up source directory, things like that, moving it back. So where did it put everything? So now that we built it, things happened, but we don't know where it is. And it looks like it's not using the source directory at all. But let's just try building it. I'm just curious what it does. Right? So we haven't touched our build version, so it says build is up to date. So nothing's changed, so it doesn't have a reason to rebuild it. Okay. So we've built it, but where is it? Where did this go? Where does it go? How do we use it? So we can check it. Make check package. Where is our package directory? And where does it output it? So let's go back over here. Right, so we made it do a thing, but we don't know where the thing went. So we're not going to commit anything to Git, because obviously this is a garbage package. You know, it's not going to do anything. We can check. We can check and just see if we can run it. Because it may be something where it's actually added as part of it. I'll see if I can scroll to that area. But it talks about adding local repositories, right? So the main home user packages, maybe it's here. I don't know. Let's see. Let's find out together. Oh, it does exist. It exists. Testing. Arch 64. That's our arch. That's our arch. And we have a package. We made a package. Look at this. Right here. It's a package. I don't have emoji that I can slap on the screen, but you know, there's things. Look at this. It's in green. That's exciting. We made a thing. So let's try and install it. So we need to obviously add this particular repository over into our APK repositories list. So in particular, home user packages testing. Right? Because that's the only repository we have. We don't have anything else. So let's do vi/etc/apk repositories. And we're just going to bump this all down. We're going to stay at the top of the list here. And we're going to do /home. And legitimately, like, repositories are just directories with an index file. So just so you know. So you can make your own really easily. So /home/user/packages. Right? /testing. And I don't even think we need the slash at the end. And we did not do user permissions, so we need sudo. So that was a good practice run. All right. Insert new line. Let's go /home/user/packages /testing. Right? Now we can save that out. APK update. Sudo APK update. Okay, we see testing. We see our packages there. I don't have a frame of reference. I should have run it before just so we could see how many packages we had before we ran it. But technically there should be one more. So let's try and install it. So let's do APK add hello world. Sudo APK add hello world. And it installed hello world. And we see the file is available. I don't know that I have where is installed, but I believe if we do ls/bin hello world, we see the file there. And if we actually even vi into it to look at it, we see our hello world file that will update our MOTD. And so let's run it. So let's do sudo, because we know we need sudo, hello world -world. And we have a typo. After all of that, so it is working. It's installing things. So obviously there's a problem here. So let's go ahead and uninstall it. We can update it and then we'll do it again. All right. So now that we know where everything is, so let's do apk del hello world. I don't know that we have a good uninstall script, but it should remove whatever it put in. Sudo apk del hello world. Okay. So now if we do hello world, we don't have it, right? We're still in the same directory. So let's vi into hello world. Let's fix our typo. Now let's do the aport abuild-r. Should build us a brand new version. Unpack failed, blah, 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 blah. Checksums did not match. So we need to redo our checksums. So it was not very happy with us for just YOLOing it there. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna have to look it up if I type it again, but I believe it's checksum. Excellent. Now we run it again. Look at all those little happy things that are happening there. Wow. And now we can install it, so APK update, sudo APK update. I should have just made it so whatever. Alright, so we see same number of files. We'll do APK sudo APK add. And we'll do hello world. Okay. And now we'll do sudo hello-world. Alright, it did an error, it did a thing, and let's cat /etc/motd. And we see the date. It did it obviously right here. That is a horrible way to draw that. So, right, so this right here, that was from when it didn't have the date correct, so that part of the command failed, but the rest of it still ran. So, just so you know. But this one down here, that's the one we just put in, and it's excellent. It's working. It's doing things. So, it's a very exciting time. We have effectively created our very first package, and we're well on our way to making the next absolutely can't live without utility that everybody on Linux is going to use. So, thanks for watching the video today. If you like it, be sure to hit that like button and leave a comment down below. If you have any ideas for videos that you would like in the future, be sure to let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And then hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we're getting extended. So until then, take care.